Let's begin with a quiet rebellion. You've been trained to be available, always online, always reachable, always pleasant. You've learned to smile even when your insides collapse, to reply to messages that drain your spirit, to offer explanations when no one's truly listening, to twist yourself into a version the world finds digestible. And maybe you never questioned it, because everyone else does the same. Everyone's performing politeness, stretching themselves thin for scraps of approval, living with their hearts on the outside, bruised from too much exposure. But let's stop here. Ask yourself, who are you when no one's watching? Who are you without the pressure to explain, to please, to respond? Because here's a truth that society quietly suppresses. Accessibility is not a virtue when it costs you your peace. Think back. Has being available made you more fulfilled? Has it brought clarity, autonomy, or love? Or has it chipped away at your edges, trained others to take you for granted, and taught you to abandon yourself? You weren't born to be public property, but somewhere along the way you started handing out pieces of yourself in exchange for attention, understanding, and fleeting connection. You started reacting automatically, compulsively, to everything. A message, a look, a tone, an expectation. And the more you reacted, the more control others gained. People don't need to overpower you if they can simply predict you. They don't need to dominate you if you hand them your buttons. They press and you respond, over and over. But here's the power move that shifts the entire equation, becoming unreachable. Not in a childish escapist way, not as withdrawal or isolation, but as discernment, as mastery, as a quiet, strategic refusal to let the world dictate your energy, your emotions, your pace. This isn't about building walls. It's about building a throne inside yourself and sitting on it, calmly, deliberately, without flinching every time someone demands your reaction. You begin to move differently, speak less, listen more, watch, observe. Not everything deserves a response. Not every attack needs a defense. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Because every time you justify yourself, explain what didn't need explaining, or answer questions no one has the right to ask, you give up a sliver of yourself. You dilute your essence to fit a mold that was never made for you. Silence isn't weakness, it's precision. And mystery, it isn't aloofness, it's magnetism. There are people who enter a space and immediately shift the energy. They don't do it by dominating the conversation or demanding attention. They do it by holding something back, by not offering every detail, every thought, every emotion for public consumption. They move with calm authority, and that calm unnerves people, because the world isn't used to restraint. The more you give, the less they value. The less you offer, the more they lean in. Human beings are addicted to what they can't have, what they don't understand, what they can't predict. The mysterious evokes reverence. The unpredictable earns caution. The unreachable becomes sacred. So when you detach from the constant compulsion to be seen, heard, and validated, you become powerful. Letting go isn't a loss. It's a homecoming. Let go of the conversation that leaves you empty. Let go of the friend who needs constant justification. Let go of the job that praises your silence but punishes your boundaries. Let go of the roles you never chose but felt obligated to perform. And more than anything, let go of the need to be understood. Because the people who truly care won't need endless explanations, and the people who demand them, they were never listening in the first place. They're not asking for truth, they're asking for control. Don't give it to them. Let your absence do the talking. Let your silence become a filter. Because when you stop offering access, the ones who stayed for the wrong reasons will leave. And in that departure, you'll realize they were never losses. They were revelations. Here's what they don't tell you. You don't have to be available just because someone reaches out. You don't have to reply just because they asked. You don't have to smile just because they're watching. Your energy is not community property. It's sacred real estate, and every time you respond from guilt, obligation, or fear, you erode your center. The truth is, you teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you respond to chaos, chaos will keep knocking. If you entertain disrespect, disrespect will make itself at home. If you justify yourself endlessly, you'll attract people who constantly demand more of what was never theirs to begin with. Your peace. This isn't about becoming cold or detached. It's about becoming sovereign. Emotional sovereignty means no longer outsourcing your self-worth to the approval of others. It means your mood isn't at the mercy of someone else's tone. It means choosing where your attention goes and refusing to let just anyone steer your inner world. When you stop reacting to every trigger, something profound happens. The people who relied on your predictability don't know what to do anymore. The ones who knew how to push your buttons discover those buttons no longer function. The ones who weaponized your empathy find you've closed the door they used to sneak through. And then there's the silence. It can be terrifying at first, like standing in an empty room after years of noise. But stay with it. The silence isn't emptiness. It's clarity. It's your soul catching its breath. It's space for your intuition to rise, unclouded by the expectations of others. You'll start to see the games for what they are: the guilt-tripping, the manipulation, the fake urgency, the subtle jabs masked as concern. All of it becomes glaring when you're no longer scrambling to please. You begin to realize that not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone has earned your vulnerability. Not everyone should know your thoughts, your dreams, your fears. Reserve those things for the ones who see your silence not as distance, but as depth. The ones who don't panic when you need space. The ones who trust your stillness, who honor your solitude. Because real connection isn't built on constant communication. It's built on mutual respect for each other's space, energy, and autonomy. Start being intentional with what you share. Not every thought needs a platform. Not every feeling needs to be voiced. You don't have to narrate your inner life to people who only listen to respond. Your depth isn't a performance, it's a gift. And most people, they haven't earned it. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. Let them sit with their confusion. The more they demand access and are met with silence, the more they reveal their intentions. Some will say you've changed, that you're distant, cold, arrogant. But that's not the truth. The truth is, you've simply stopped giving away pieces of yourself to people who don't know what to do with them. You've stopped leaking energy into dead conversations and forced connections. You've stopped performing, and now you're preserving. There is power in not explaining yourself. Power in letting misunderstandings exist. Power in not rushing to defend your name against the noise of projections. You don't owe anyone clarity about a path they were never meant to walk with you. Silence, restraint, boundaries. These are not weapons of war. They are tools of wisdom. You don't have to argue to prove you're right. You don't have to over-explain to prove you're kind. You don't have to justify your peace. The people who see you, truly see you, will never demand those things. They will recognize your energy, even in stillness. They will feel your presence, even in silence. And the rest, let them leave. They were only ever passing through a version of you that no longer exists. There's a shift that happens when you stop seeking approval, a kind of quiet revolution. The noise of the world fades just enough for you to hear your own voice again, unfiltered, unapologetic, unbothered. And that voice, it's been waiting beneath the years of politeness, performance, and self-abandonment, waiting for you to stop asking for permission to exist on your own terms. You've been told your value comes from being agreeable, from being seen, from being liked. But the truth is, Your value comes from being rooted, from being whole without needing to be chosen. The paradox is this: the more you become comfortable being alone, the more magnetic you become. Not because you try harder, but because you stop trying altogether. You stop chasing, stop explaining, stop bending. You begin to radiate something rare in a world addicted to noise, self-possession. And that energy, people feel it. They may not understand it, but they feel it. It unnerves the ones who can't control it. It intrigues the ones who respect it. It commands the attention of those who thought power looked like domination. But real power is stillness. It's control over your own reactions. It's the ability to sit in discomfort without immediately seeking escape. It's knowing when to speak and when to walk away. You don't need to prove your growth to anyone. Growth isn't loud. It doesn't need applause. Sometimes it looks like fewer replies, tighter circles, and longer pauses before speaking. Sometimes it looks like not showing up where you're expected, because your peace is no longer negotiable. You begin to understand that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the refusal to entertain chaos. Not every battle is yours. Not every fire requires your water. There's freedom in realizing that not everything deserves a reaction, that not every attack is a call to arms. Some things are beneath you, and the most powerful thing you can do is not respond, because when you don't respond, you stay in control. When you don't react, you protect your frequency. When you walk away instead of engaging, you reclaim time and energy that would have been wasted. This is not indifference, it's intelligence. Strategic stillness, calm as a weapon. They want you loud, defensive, predictable. But instead, you give them distance, silence, grace. And that silence, it terrifies people who relied on your reaction to validate their power. It confuses those who fed off your emotional generosity. It exposes those who never respected you, but were comfortable as long as you were accessible. And you start to feel lighter, clearer, more whole. You stop walking into rooms hoping to be liked. Instead, you walk in anchored in who you are, unshaken by opinions, untouched by games. You speak only when it adds value. You give only when it doesn't cost your peace. You begin to guard your time the way you guard your breath. And here's the truth. Not everyone deserves the full version of you. Some only ever deserved the outline, and even that was generous. So you become intentional about where you go, what you say, who gets your energy. This isn't elitism, it's self-respect. You're not obligated to carry others' emotional weight. You're not a rescue mission. You're not a therapist for people who refuse to heal. You're not responsible for making others comfortable at the expense of your own nervous system. Protect your space like your life depends on it, because your inner life does. In a world that teaches you to be open to everything, the real art is in discernment. What to allow, what to reject, what to let in, what to keep out. Not all access is harmless. Some access is extraction. Some access is corrosion. Some access is theft disguised as love. And you finally learned the difference. Now comes the hardest part of becoming unreachable. Detachment. Not the cold, avoidant kind, not numbness, but a sacred, grounded detachment from the things that once controlled you. The approval you chased, the misunderstandings you tried to fix, the people you bent yourself for, the image you tried so hard to maintain. You begin to realize that clarity isn't loud, it's quiet. It's a knowing that doesn't need to be defended. When someone misjudges you, you let them. When they provoke, you stay calm. When they bait, you don't bite. You stop chasing correction and start choosing protection. Protection of your time, protection of your peace, protection of your inner world, because not everyone should be allowed into the temple of your mind. Not everyone deserves a seat at the table of your energy. So you raise your standards, not in arrogance, but in alignment. You realize that your peace is not something you negotiate over coffee. It's not something you sacrifice in exchange for temporary validation. It's not something you dilute just to be understood. You're not for everyone, and you're no longer trying to be. And suddenly, everything begins to shift. You spend more time in quiet, more time listening to yourself, not the world. You begin to notice who makes your soul contract and who helps it expand. You notice who drains you with surface-level chaos and who nourishes you with depth. You learn to say no without flinching, to walk away without guilt, to disconnect without announcing your departure. And most of all, you stop needing closure from others, because real closure comes when you close the door yourself. When you realize that not every ending needs a conversation. Some chapters end with silence, and that's enough. Not everyone deserves a final word. Not everyone gets to hear your side of the story. Some things are better left unsaid, not because you're hiding, but because they're simply no longer relevant. You start to see that the people who once controlled you emotionally were only powerful because you kept feeding them energy. You were the engine. You were the supply. And now that you've stopped, they're left with echoes. They'll call you cold, guarded, too quiet, too distant. But what they're really saying is, I no longer have access to the version of you that served me. And that version, it's gone, buried beneath layers of healing and rebirth. You no longer live for impressions. You live for alignment, for resonance, for peace. You no longer explain your silence. You honor it. You no longer justify your solitude. You treasure it. You no longer perform your worth. You embody it. You've become unreachable, not because you vanished, but because you rose, above the noise, above the games, above the need to be anything other than whole. And this is the great paradox of it all. The more you detach, the more you attract. The more you guard your energy, the more others respect it. The more you hold back, the more curious they become. But you're no longer performing for curiosity. You're no longer giving away access as proof of love. You're no longer trying to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. You've made peace with being misread, because now you don't need the world to validate your choices. Your peace is your proof. Your silence is your answer. Your presence is your boundary. And if someone crosses it, let silence meet them, not as punishment, but as clarity. Because the deepest form of power isn't in retaliation, it's in refusal. Refusal to explain what no longer needs explaining. Refusal to fight for spaces that dishonor your soul. Refusal to shrink just to stay relatable. You've become unreachable, and not because you're hiding, but because you finally arrived, fully, authentically, quietly. So the next time the world demands a reaction, remember, you owe no one your triggers. You owe no one your story. You owe no one your presence. Your permission is sacred. Your peace is non-negotiable. Your energy is yours. And from now on, the door stays closed until you choose to open it. Not from fear, not from guilt, but from power. Because the final act of self-love is knowing that not everyone deserves access to you.